welcome back. My name is Seth. Thanks for watching my videos. This is part 2 in the series of how to set up and configure Cisco 5510. So in the first part, we went through the process of doing a factory default. Then we went through and set up the outside interface, the inside interface. We set up a dynamic net and a static route to the gateway so the ASA have access to the internet. So in this video, we're going to set up an inside route, static route, to a layer 3 switch on the inside of your network, and how to set up an access list, along with 2 static NAT statements. These NAT statements will take internal IP address and give it a public IP address. In our case, we're going to be using a web server and an SNMP server. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that everything looks okay. Okay, let me just clear the screen. Okay, so we're going to just quickly ping Google, make sure that the internet's working, and it is. We're able to go out to the internet. So suppose, say, you had a internal layer 3 switch. If you look at my previous videos on how to set up a Cisco 3850 layer 3 switch, which is acting as a router, which sits behind this ASA, which is doing and also doing all the routing. So we need to be able to, for the traffic to be from the ASA to be able to get to the layer 3 switch and let it handle everything then. So in order for us to do that, if you remember in my previous video, we created a static route to the outside, to the gateway. We're going to create a static route on the inside to our layer 3 device. So for that, we're going to go into config mode and type in route inside. And what do we want to route inside? Well, all of my VLANs and my switch is on a private 10.10 network. So I'm going to type in 10.10.0.0. It's a 16-bit. And I want the router to take care of that. Well, the way the router, my layer 3 device, is set up and connected to this firewall is on a 10.10.11.2 IP. Okay, so now I set up my route. So if I come over to my ASDM, this was our outside route. If I hit refresh, and there you go, this is the inside route. Inside 10.10.0.0, and the gateway IP is 10.10.11.2 because that is the layer 3 switch IP. And if you notice, we did that through the CLI. Now that we've created our inside route, the next step would be to create an access list. Okay, so to create an access list, we can do it through CLI or through the ASDM, and I'll show you both. So let's assume that you have an SNMP server which has a public IP and it's NATed, and it is receiving traps from all over the country. So what you want to do is create an object first. So we'll create an object here. I'm going to create an object real quickly called SNMP, and the IP address for that is 10.20.32.50. I'm going to hit OK. So we have an object right here. I'm going to create another object and call this object SNMP ext for external. Okay, and the IP address for this is, let's assume it's an external IP, so 12.12.12.16. Yep, 12.18. And I'm going to hit OK. So I've created two objects. One has an internal IP, and the other one has an external IP. So well, now we need to net these two. The easiest way to do that, you can either come here and use this net wizard, or the way I found it to be the most easiest is if I double click on the object, the inside object. Down here we see net. If you click on it, it expands this bottom section where we can input the net properties. You click on the check mark, choose the type of net. So this is going to be a static net. I'm going to click on these three dots, and from here I'm going to choose the external net. You double click that, shows up down here, click OK, click on advanced. Well, it's going from the inside interface to the outside interface. I'm going to click OK, and there you go. It created a static net for us, an inside-outside static net. So now we have given this server a public IP address. Well, the next thing we want to do is create an access rule that specify what type of traffic can hit this external IP. For that, we can click on access rule up here, and we're going to highlight outside here, outside, click on add access rule, and we're going to say source anything going to, and that is your inside IP. Hit OK, and the only thing I want allowed is UDP/SNMP. UDP/SNMP traps 161 and 162, and you hit OK, and there you go. So now you have an access rule that says, hey, I have an SNMP server, which if you hover your mouse over this, it tells you that it's being translated to SNMP-ext in external, and the only traffic that's allowed on it is SNMP, UDP 161 and 162 type of traffic. And that's it. We're going to hit apply and save it. So now what we did was create a net statement, a static net from inside to outside object, and then we created an access rule on a 5510. So if I click on my net statement, here's my net statement, and here's my access rule. The way it translated everything on the back end is, if we type in show run include access list. So as you can see in the background, it created an access list called access list outside access in. It's extended. It's permitting UDP traffic on anything from anything, and it's going to the object SNMP, and the object group is the UDP names, the UDP ports that we gave, and it's using threat detection statistics, which is a built-in feature that detects any threat from the outside on this access list. Translated this down here. Okay, so now we're going to create another one here, and we'll see how it populates in here. Okay, so let's say you have a web server. Object network. This is going to be a World Wide Web object. Here we specify the IP address by typing in host. If I hit question mark, we can specify the IP address. The IP address that I want to give this server is 10.20.30.15. Hit enter. We're going to create another object call World Wide Web external. And we're going to call, you can give this an IP of 10, 12, 12, 12.15. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into my first object. And here I'm going to type in NAT inside, outside. It's going to be a static NAT, and I want to static this to object www.ext. Okay, now if we bring over our ASDM and we hit refresh, you'll see that we'll have a static NAT created. There we go. So now we have a static NAT created. So now that we've created a static NAT, we're going to do what we did with SNMP. We need to create an access list. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to go back to ASDM, type N, kind of clear this up a little. To create an access list, we have to go into config mode and type access list outside access inside, give it a name, and it's going to be an extended, and we're going to permit TCP, because HTTP is a TCP protocol. So TCP from anything going to object www created, and the port we want is what? World Wide Web, right? HTTP, and hit enter. And then once we specify that, once we create an access list, we have to apply it to the to this new outside access in interface, on the outside interface. So we're going to type access group. We're going to specify the name that we gave it, outside access in, and it's going to come in on the interface outside. So now if I come here and do a refresh, we should see an access rule applied on the outside interface. It's going to object www, specifying to only allow HTTP. There we go. And if you click on edit, it takes us back to what we did earlier with this object. So there you go. So now we have two NATed IP addresses. Additionally, in here we have something called public servers. Because we made these internal servers public, if I click on public servers, there you go, it automatically puts it into this category because it knows this is a public server, and so all your public servers will show up here. Fairly simple. Okay, so this is how you would set up an access rule and setting up NAT on a 5510. Thanks for watching.